All right, good morning, PoA. It is a beautiful Saturday morning, so I got up this morning and told myself I want to do some math. That it's kind of an important thing to think about because sometimes we have to make ourselves do stuff that even though we don't want to do them, we know is good for us. And this is one of those things. Like I know if I can put these videos out here, it's going to help you prepare for Monday's exam. And if you're finding these videos, if you're looking at a moto like we asked you to, for resources, then you're going to run into a really good one because I'm about to walk you through the whole entire review, one piece at a time. So this is going to be a multi-part movie thing. I'm going to try to do just a couple maybe concepts as a time, so they're not overwhelming or maybe too long. That way maybe you can rewatch them and kind of find the exact pieces that you need. Cool? All right, well let's get into it. And again, I want to thank you guys for watching these. Both me and Mr. Boss would agree that if you take the time to watch these videos and process the homework, we know you're getting better. And that's what this class is all about. Just getting better. So let's look at this first one. Now these magic box puzzles are something you're going to see kind of all year. It's one of those skills that we saw pretty much only in homework. So unless you're really doing the homework with fidelity, which of course means you're doing it to the best of your ability, then you're not really seeing what's going on. So here's kind of the thing. This first one is really just an example where I'm just pushing this example forward. So if you see a problem like this and you're trying to solve it, well, you have to realize that it's really solved in two steps. We have to take these two numbers out on the side and multiply them to get the top. And then we have to take these two numbers on the side and add them to get the bottom. So as long as we're kind of following that pattern, you should be good to go. So on this first one, which is not a problem we actually have to do, it's more of like an example. We have this 4, we have this 6. If we multiply them, we get up 24 positive, of course, because they're both positive. And then we add them and get 10 because, well, they're just adding. And that's kind of what you're seeing in this middle step. That's 4 times 6 on the top, 4 plus 6 on the bottom, which again we can confirm are just going to be 24 and 10. So let's get into the actual problem base here. It's your choice, especially when you're given both these side numbers, what you want to handle first. I know me personally, I always just kind of tend to go to the multiplication first. So we have 9 and we have 3. So I'm going to give you a piece of advice here. I would say try to handle the numbers and then the signs separately. Meaning that I know this guy is negative, but I'm just going to kind of ignore that fact for now. And I'm just going to take 9 times 3. Well, 9 times 3 is 27. Now I'm going to go back and adjust the signs. I have one positive here. I have one negative here. A positive times a negative is actually going to be negative. That should be negative 27. Now let's deal with the bottom. We have 9, we have a minus 3. Well, that's just pretty straightforward. 9 take away 3 is going to be 6. All right. Okay, so let's slide over this side. Now we're the same kind of problem, but we're taking it with a slightly different approach. And the approach here is that we need to figure out the side numbers given the top. This problem is all about entry point. Most of the problems are, in fact, in mathematics, is just figuring out where to actually start. And if you can figure that part well, you're going to actually solve the problem really well. I'm going to start with 21, and here's the reason why. I know there are only a few sets of numbers that multiply to make a 21. 3 times 7 will do it, 21 times 1 will do it, and that's pretty much it. So my choices are extremely limited. So if I'm looking at 3 times 7, 21, and 1, I need to ask myself now, which of those sets of numbers can add to make a 10? Because if you recall, we're adding to get to the bottom number. Right? So 21 and 1 are candidates for the multiplication, but 21 and 1 do not add to 10. So that's a no-go. 3 and 7, I think, are going to be the winners here, because if I take a 3, oh, hello. If I take a 3 and a 7 and I add them, that gets me my 10. And the 3 and 7, of course, were chosen because they multiply to make that 21. So the last thing I want to do is check my signs. Positive 3, positive 7, that makes a positive 10. Positive 3, positive 7, that makes a positive 21. We are good to go. Let's slide to the right. All right, and of course I'm going too fast, guys. It's a video, so pause, rewind. You guys probably don't rewind. Go back and watch it again. That's when we try to make these videos kind of short. All right, so let's check out this guy. So we have 8 times some number here, which we don't know yet, has got to be a 32. Well, again, I know it's a negative 32, but I'm going to kind of ignore that for now because I know multiplication, the positive and negatives are kind of like the last step I should think about. So what I'm really thinking about is 8 times some number makes 32. Well, in that case, it's going to be a 4. So 8 times 4 is 32. Now, we have to now think about the sign. Because it's negative and the 8's already positive, that means the 4's got to be negative to produce that negative 32. Because, of course, a positive and a negative make a negative, okay? Which, again, is something to kind of consider, and I'll blow it up over here. we have this kind of sense that multiplication follows like these very specific rules. Like if I have negative and a negative, that will end up being a positive. A positive times a positive will end up being a positive. But if I have one of each, and it doesn't really matter what combination of each I have, that will always end up being a negative value. So if my end goal is a negative, that means one's got to be positive, one's got to be negative, and since the 8's already positive, the 4 has to be. So now we have that chosen. Our last step is actually just to now slide these to the bottom in addition, or I should now say combination. Combine 8 and a negative 4. 8 minus 4 is going to be a 4. Okay, so the last question here I'm not going to address because this is just really kind of you summarizing the information. But so if you were to tell someone how to do this, hopefully you say something along the lines as you take the two side numbers, multiply to the top, two side numbers add to the bottom, and that's really the whole deal. Okay, so that's the first problem. Like I said, I'm going to do this kind of as a series of short movies instead of like one big long one because that would be forever. That way you can kind of target which one you want to do. So this is really just review problem 1. That's what I got for you guys. I will see you in part 2.